Hi, my name's Matt, and this is the Pressure Proof Creative podcast, the show where world-class creatives come together to drop the mask, burn the bullshit, and get real about the pressures, the pains, and monumental uncertainty of generating genius on demand. Like, subscribe, and comment to show your support. Hey Barney, it's good to see you today, and thank you for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. This is my first ever video podcast, so and second only podcast. So it's a privilege to be on here. And if I'm getting it wrong, just let me know.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for being the second. I appreciate it. Very cool.
Yeah.
And for the first on video. Wow. Amazing.
Yes. I mean, enjoy.
Yeah, looking good, looking sharp.
Thank you.
Okay, mate. So should we just, before we kind of crack on and dig in a little bit deeper, can we just start, for anyone who doesn't know who you are, just a bit about who you are, what it is you do, and briefly how you got to this position where you are now?
Yes. So I am the founder and CEO of Orchard Creative in New York. Prior to that, I mean, the bulk of my career was at BBH in London and New York, and I started there late 90s. So when it was at its absolute peak. I think that I would argue that BBH London and Wieden Kennedy in Portland at that time were the two best agencies in the world.
Agreed.
And I got very lucky to get a job there. And it was still at the time when, Bartle, Bogle, and Hegarty were all there. I worked most closely with John and Nigel, and this is when they were, despite being the founders and the all C-suite, were actively involved day to day. So my creative director was John Hegarty, and my account management supervisor ultimately was Nigel. And this is before they were sirs. But they were brilliant. I mean, one doesn't get knighted by the Queen for being a slouch, right? So, I mean, they were extraordinary, and it was an extraordinary group of talent, extraordinarily high standards that everyone held themselves to. So it was an amazing place to learn and grow. Like, you were literally learning from the best. I liked them, they liked me. So I was there for 14 years in total between London and New York. And I moved over to New York in about 2000, I think. It was my first stint. And I did 2 stints in London, 2 stints in New York. They were kind enough to indulge me. Made my way from account person to head of account management, and then ultimately to president and part of the global group board. And then in about 2011, I left to start an agency called BFG. And the first person that I brought on there was Laura Jeunesse, who had been my client at BBH. She was at Google, and she was part of the team launching Chrome. Oh, wow. So that campaign was amazing. The level of talent on both sides was unbelievable. Google Creative Lab and the people working on it at BBH. We did the Dear Sophie campaign, which is still considered to be like one of Google's best, probably one of the best campaigns in recent years. And so I got her to come and join as the third partner, chief strategy officer at BFG. And then we built that up. And I suppose what I learned there, I just finished doing my MBA I did an executive MBA at Stern, which BBH were kind enough to pay for. And I finished it just before I started at BFG. So at BFG, if I'd learned at BBH that if you hold yourself to really, really high standards, you can actually deliver phenomenal results. And BBH never said this. This was my TM description of what was great about that agency, was the expectation of excellence from every department without compromising any, right? And that's very easy to say, borderline impossible to pull off. And the fact that they pulled it off for as long as they did is testament to their management prowess. Because there's always going to be tension, right, between strategy and creative and account management and production. And they managed to find a way to get the best out of everyone and for it to still be a highly functioning team. And I think the bit that they really understood was, yes, the creative output of an agency is its most visible product. But that's not what clients are buying in totality, right? Clients are buying strategy, they're buying operational excellence, they're buying the journey towards the destination and not just the destination itself. And BBH prided itself on excellence in every department. So I think that was the biggest lesson I took from there. And I basically, in essence, replicated it at Orchard. That's really what we tried to do. But I'm not going to talk too much about us. This is not about me, or it's not about Orchard. This is about lessons along the way. So when I got to BFG, what I learned there really was beyond the core discipline of advertising. I'd got to a point, because I'd done an MBA, because I was interested in this, that I could do every aspect of the business. So that's not just like the day-to-day bit of making ads. That means doing all the legal stuff, negotiating the MSAs, negotiating the fees, doing all of the finance stuff, doing all of the operational stuff. I mean, I look around here and I know the price of everything. I know how much per square foot real estate is in New York. I know how long I need to commit to it. I know what the punishment is or the penalty if we don't pay our bills. So I learned how to operationalize an agency and do it, like run it really well, make sure it was profitable, make sure that output was great. And I think that's the biggest thing that I learned, was like complete self-sufficiency of BFG. And then, I mean, Laura and I, it's no secret, we're not getting along with our creative partner. And at the same time, my wife was diagnosed with incurable cancer. So that was really the light bulb moment of, fuck this, I need to go and do something else. I need to do it with partners with whom I get on, partners I respect, partners who share a vision. I don't want to work at a holding company. I don't want to be a middle-aged white dude with a big target on my back whenever there's a consolidation. So it became a personal imperative for me to create a work environment where I really determined my own future. Yeah. So that was like one big galvanizing moment to go, right, we want to build something new. But then there's another thing that was like largely driven by Laura, but my wife worked in advertising, was a very attractive woman in advertising. So I'd seen just how poorly women got treated in the business, like fucking borderline abhorrent. So it was really important for us when starting Orchard to not just create another agency, but to model for the industry that the pursuit of great work is not an excuse to treat people poorly. We really wanted to show that you could do both, and with a particular bias to making sure that women were equally represented and equally paid, if not paid better. So there is a philosophical and structural difference about Orchard, which is doing great work, but doing great by people as well. And that's, that isn't easy. There are economic sacrifices and fundamental differences one needs to make to run a business like that. But it was like, for deeply personal reasons, for me and her, was really, really important. I suppose, when you are staring at the end of life, that forces you into a more philosophical outlook, right? And it's doing the right thing for human beings. It has just become incredibly important to me. So that was really the impetus for starting Orchard. And it's been a phenomenal success. Like, we're doing great work for great clients. And we have created an environment where people who before in their careers had been stymied by the toxic bro culture that is very prevalent in North American advertising, and who have just blossomed. I've looked at people like Heather Larimer, our executive creative director, who's a phenomenal talent that had been treated poorly herself and is now just like literally one of the best creatives in the country doing the best work. And so I'm like super proud of that. But I hope that's not too long. You can feel free to edit anything out that's boring.
Absolutely not.
But that's my career in a nutshell. And I suppose the value I can add, if there's like a headline to me being on your podcast, is I am a case study in there is always a good time to start a business. And one can achieve extraordinary things when you've got no fucking choice. When the only option in front of you is to succeed. I don't consider myself, look, BBH saw enough talent in me to go, you can be the sixth president in our 40-year history. You can be on the, so obviously there's some talent there, right? But there's plenty of talented people. And I don't consider myself to be extraordinarily talented in any way. I was put into a situation where everyone, I believe, would do the same thing. Whereas if you've got to build a future for your family in a certain way, and you've got no other choice but to do it, you'll do it. So I hope that people from this get a sense of, if that idiot could do it, I can do it.
I think it's amazing. I mean, see, a lot of people would have gone through the experiences you've gone through and just think, fuck it, why am I doing what I'm doing, and just kind of do something else. But what was it that made you kind of double down on being successful in this industry? Was it for the children? Was it to give some security? Was it just because you weren't happy in the other place, or what was
it's a combination of it's very simple to like try and point at one thing, but it was like those were all of the ingredients in the totality of the casserole of my career choice. I think if you're going to go and start your own business, you have to believe that you can do something better, right? Yeah. Like the question I got asked a million times when we started this, and when I started BFG as well, was like, why does the industry need another ad agency? And the short answer is it doesn't. But there is always a market for better. That is the great thing about North America. It always rewards better. So look at us, look at Mischief, there's a bunch of new agencies that have sprung up in the last few years that are doing well. And it's because the market wants that. So yes, at a fundamental level, I believed that Laura and I together could do something better. Which has proven to be true. But also the need to just be able to write my own future. And look, I knew that there would be a huge period of time where I just needed the space to grieve, right? And I needed to create an environment where that was I could do it on my own terms. Weirdly, I actually only took like a week off after she died. I do much better when I'm occupied. So I didn't require the weeks or months that I thought I might. But it's just, I didn't need the added pressure of the bullshit in the industry weighing on me. I was just like, I'm going to do it myself. I believe in myself. I've bet on myself before and it's worked. I need to create, and I need to create a space for us to be free. And what I found really interesting as a byproduct of that, because what gets you out of bed in the morning really determines how you move through the world, right? So when I walk in through these doors here, my body language and my verbal language and every part of my being that can communicate to people communicates the importance of individual freedom. Coincidentally, when you work at a creative agency or when you're building a creative agency, that's incredibly compelling to like the brightest strategic and creative minds. That's really what they want. I mean, I think if you walked into any holding company agency in the world right now and said, would you prefer to have your own agency where you were free to do what you believe was right? Everyone would say yes, right?
Yeah.
If WPP or Omnicom walked in here and tried to take any of these, no one, like, and it's, different businesses. I'm not being disparaging. It's just, I think there is something particularly compelling and magnetic about the freedom of personal expression to a creative business. And I hadn't even conceived that might be a benefit to everyone else as well, but it really is. Like, they know that I live and breathe that, and they do the same.
So what would you say are the difference in the pressures from being a president of BBH and then running your own places and being responsible for the output, but also the people within it? How are the pressures different? And are they different?
The pressures are more specific, and the pressures are in the right place, like doing the best work, looking after the people. What I don't have to worry about, which is never very good at, is any of the politics that needed management in a holding company environment. Like, I'm really good pointed at the work. My skill set is not good at, like, managing
bullshit.
Yeah. And I understand that it's necessary and everyone's just doing what they believe to be right. But I think in the pursuit of getting others to execute what they believe to be right, there are strings that they pull that just become exhausting and just take your focus off of that. So I think the pressures feel much more purposeful here and much more focused on the important issues. And I'm grateful for that, because I find the other stuff kind of fatiguing.
Yeah, purposeful pressure,
Yes.
essentially. So what would you say is the most exciting thing about what you're doing now? And what would your wife think about what you're doing now if she could see this?
It's funny you should, like, I hope this is helpful to the people that are watching, because it is like,
Well, it's helpful to me. So
like, to be here answering these questions with my particular, and look, plenty of people have loved ones who have passed, right? So I'm not claiming to be unique, but her presence is really important to me. Like, she was, I genuinely, every decision I make now, I'm like, what would Torrey think? And she was and what's interesting, when somebody dies, you get all of the people come out of the woodwork that have worked with her that you didn't know. And they tell you things that you didn't know about them. Like, and you can go, I posted about her death on LinkedIn. So if anyone wants to go and see these comments themselves, I think I finally got around to posting. She died in August of 2023. I think I posted around November. So you can go to my LinkedIn and see the kind of comments. But it was just evident that and she worked in advertising, that she was incredibly kind and incredibly generous. And I would not describe myself as that prior to her death. I think as a account person trained by Nigel Bogle in the furnace of literally one of the best agencies on the planet, executing at a high standard was the most important priority. They always wanted people to treat each other with respect, but there was a hard driving culture. And I think the further I got into my career, I think you would describe me as a very strident, results-focused account person, right? So I held myself to high standards and other people, and the feedback I get is like, you can be a bit tough on people. And that's absolutely true. And I think when my wife died, that forces you to rethink everything, right? And all of this, everything that was being eulogized about her was just like her kindness, her generosity. And I was like, I need to be more like that. And so every decision I make from this day forward is going to be run through the filter of what would she think? And that's true. So I do that. The tension I face, and this is a safe space, and I'm just going to be honest, is once you've made the leap from employee to entrepreneur, and you've succeeded now twice at entrepreneurialism, you have learned that it is possible to create value from nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm sat here now in a freaking tens of thousands of square feet of real estate in New York City, right? Like I've built a successful business. This started as a laptop, a cell phone, and Wi-Fi in my fucking apartment, right? So
Yeah.
once you've seen that one can create value from nothing, it's very hard to listen to people who are like, nah, we should do this meeting next week. It's like, we should do this meeting fucking now.
Yeah.
And it should be, so I do find myself, the entrepreneur in me, just like, do it now and deliver, be excellent. And don't give me an excuse because I'm living proof that you can do it. I do find that sometimes in conflict with the filter of what would Torrey think, because she was a much kinder, slower, deliberately slower, like more considerate person. So that is my day-to-day tension. I think if you were to speak to anyone that works with me, they would probably validate that.
I love it. How do you go though from idea to execution? Because a lot of people can have a good idea in their kitchen, and a lot of people would go, "I want to create something. I want to build something. I want to earn my freedom."
Yes,
What's the difference between someone who can think it and someone who can actually make it happen?
very simple. The willingness to do the thing that most people are not prepared to do. The willingness to sit through the bit that is uncomfortable. The problem with today's internet is you don't know what's real and what's fake, right? But
Yeah.
I got served this, and I think it's real. I think it was from the recent interview we did with The Economist, was Elon Musk talking about what and look, the guy's a genius, right? And his entire career has been surrounded by geniuses. And even he made the same observation. It's like, there's plenty of good ideas.
Yeah.
There's plenty of talented people. But the difference between those that succeed and those that don't is that the ones that are willing to tolerate the pain. And he's like, if you're good, you've got so many other options than sitting in pain. Just go and get a job somewhere else, right? But I was forced, and again, I'm not special. The circumstances of my life for several years forced two things on me. One, I didn't have a fucking choice, so I was not distracted by the myriad options out there. And it forced me to learn how to sit in pain longer than most people can tolerate. And I really think if anyone is here watching me thinking about starting a business, if you are willing to do the bit that most people are not prepared to do, success is just on the other side of that.
Yeah.
And look, it makes sense, right? Cliches become cliches because they're true. Fortune favors the brave. The risk-reward dynamic have all been established because they're true, right?
Yeah.
You can't expect extraordinary results, whether those be financial, creative, operational, and expect to get it where most people exist, right? They are out of reach of most people. And that's what makes them abundant. So you've really got to be prepared to sit in the pain. And look, N of one, it's worth it. I look at people that were far smarter than me, who got out of advertising to get into tech because it was sexier, all been eviscerated by the layoffs that have happened over the last few years in tech, right?
Yeah.
And I look at me and I go, the last person that's ever going to be laid off at this agency is me. That's technically not true. I will always cut my salary to save anyone else before I laid anyone off. But in theory, like I've created my own safety net. So I actually think in 2026, safety and certainty is a fucking illusion.
Yeah.
Delusion, even.
Delusion,
I would always argue that the safest place to be is in your own business. So anyone that's thinking about it, I promise you, it's going to be painful for a couple of years. But after that, you're going to reap what you sow. So go for it.
I love it. I was going to say, what would you say to those startups that have started and they've had the hard part to start with to get it going, the growing pains, etc. and they just think, should I quit or should I keep going? What would you advise them to do, or what questions should they ask themselves?
Uh, as life gets more complicated, I think I've always found, and I'm gazing off into the distance only because that is my place to think. I'm not looking at anything specific. I'm not looking
Yeah.
at TikTok over there. This is my thinking face.
Yeah.
I've always found that as life gets more complicated, it can actually be answered by trying to find really simple answers. I think there are foundational truths that stay the same, whatever is happening in the economy, in the industry. And I got served this quote. I'm sure it's probably someone very famous, but it says, "If you're going through hell, keep going."
Yeah.
It's just like, why are you going to stop? Just keep going. It will end. It
Yeah.
will end, and it will be. And it's just like, just think about, like, look at anyone that has achieved any amount of success and listen to their biography or read their biography. They will always talk about, from sports to business to they will talk about working harder, going longer. Look at us. We did a project with Steph Curry, and I was reading, and David Beckham's the same. They just practiced harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And it shows up on the court or on the pitch or in business. Just like, keep going. It's not that it's hard because it sucks, but it's not that complicated.
Did you ever doubt it?
No. And I actually think
Interesting.
that is a that is a thing. That is probably a mindset that's important.
That's really important.
Is
Yeah.
is and it was not born through self-assurance, because I think everyone suffers from tremendous insecurity, or certainly, like, diminished self-worth on the inside versus what people perceive on the outside. So I don't see myself as a particularly overly confident person. But for some reason, I never doubted it.
Mm.
And again, that could be just a result of my circumstances, right? When you are literally watching someone deteriorate physically through cancer, that goes on for years, and it's day in day. Like, it is relentless. And only those that have witnessed it will really understand what I'm talking about. But that changes how you view the world. And I think having that counterpoint every day meant that, again, I had no fucking choice. I had to. So it may be that I didn't doubt it, or maybe that it's my brain in self-preservation prevented that thought from ever entering.
Mm.
So, it could be that.
I love it because it's not like you had the doubt and then had to push it away or had to cram it out.
No,
It's just it didn't
no,
have space to breathe,
no,
essentially.
no.
I love it. So what would you say is the most pain? So you say it takes pain to get to where you want to get to, and that's, well,
Hmm.
progress through pain, I guess. But
Hmm.
what would you say was the most painful part?
Weirdly, not the bit that you would expect. Um, if you've been doing it long, and look, I can talk only through the prism of advertising, right?
Mm.
I know that your viewers are in myriad creative fields, so I apologize that my field of vision doesn't extend
I think
beyond
this
ads, but
relates to
hopefully,
all of it.
yeah, hopefully. Um, so that if you've been doing it long enough and doing it well enough, you've got a list of contacts on LinkedIn. And like I say, the the blessing of North America is it's the freest market in the known universe. It rewards better. And that from top to bottom. So I could call any of my old clients and be like, none under my restrictive covenants from previous agencies, just to be clear.
Yeah,
I
just
respected my contract. But by the time I was starting this, everyone that was working with at BBH was like, that was long expired. So I could call people and they would take me seriously, right? So
yeah.
the mechanical bit of building a business, of like getting clients, and that actually wasn't the hard bit. Like the there is a delay. You have to go without pay for a while. So that was painful. But, I'd done all right at previous. So that wasn't as, I had a certain amount of liquidity to keep me going. So I wasn't worried about being homeless. But what you'll find whenever you achieve a certain amount of success is what Rick, the Republican strategist whose name escapes me, the guy behind the Lincoln Project, I had a conversation with him, and he said it's the success tax. Whenever you're doing well, there will be a flurry of externalities, people on the fringes of the business, people that are envious of your success, who will try and fuck you over in certain ways. And that's just one example. I was watching a documentary the other day and it was about, I'm sure it's that Michael Jordan documentary, and it had an interview with Dennis Rodman. And he was talking about the game, the industry that is basketball. And he was like talking about the game, and then he was talking about all the shit around it. And he said, I would play the game for free. Why the Bulls pay me so much is to deal with all of this bullshit. And that actually is the most irritating and distracting part of it. And it's fascinating. Like Laura, who is my business partner here, she is so bored of it that she has just like shut herself off now. She's taken herself off LinkedIn. She's just like, I don't need all the bullshit around. I'm just going to focus on the job. And she says she's much happier. Sadly, I can't break the addiction of LinkedIn. So it's funny. It's not the thing that so if you're a script writer it's probably not writing the script or getting it developed. It's the other shit that happens in the machinery of that industry that really kicks into gear when you achieve any amount of success. There are people there that just either want to try and derail you or want a piece of it. That bit is probably the most exhausting.
Yeah. Did you decide when you set out? I mean, that's the second time doing it, but did you ever sit down and work out what that success tax was going to be and whether you were willing to pay it, or did you just?
No, I didn't even know. I didn't even know that it was a thing. That is. I literally had to have someone point it out to me and articulate it as that. That's what happens when you're successful. Is that people will try and tax you for it.
Yeah.
So I was completely unprepared.
Amazing. What would you say was the thing where would you say you get your strength from?
You know what? Now, family.
Yeah.
It is watching someone die, and I'm talking about like the last 2 weeks now. And if anyone has been on the cancer journey, they know that the last couple of weeks are really where the rubber hits the road, and the decline is fast. But there's the person suffering is still conscious enough to talk, but they're close to the end. And look, my wife was very, very successful. None of it mattered. At the end, the only thing that mattered was not the fucking resume, were not the awards, was not the money in the bank, the peripheral friend group. What mattered at the end was love. And I know that sounds
doesn't sound
myself a moment to be emotional, but it's that at the end is all that fucking matters.
Yeah.
So where I get my strength from, if I have any strength, it is it's those people that I love, and that's my immediate family. If people don't have a dog, get a dog.
Yeah.
And you're going to think this is ridiculous.
I've got
it's
dogs.
not.
Wherever you say, I agree.
It is. We do a lot of work with rover.com, and as part of the discovery process, when we got them, we had to go and interview all the people that founded it. And the CEO and founder at the time said to me, Barney, what the single greatest improver of human happiness has been the domestication of dogs.
Yeah.
And he's like, I challenge you to think of something better than that has improved humanity's happiness more than the domestication of dogs. And I was like, God damn it, he's right.
Yeah.
So like a dog, and I got a dog before my wife got really sick, but I'm British, so I don't do therapy. But what the dog allows me to do is get out of my own head.
Yeah.
It gives me a structure and a routine to my day that I have to abide by, otherwise she's going to piss on the rug.
Yeah.
It gets you outside, and I remember when, oh my God, I remember when Princess Diana died, and I remember Prince Philip's solution to children who were the same age as my kids when their mother died was to take them on a bracing walk. And he was right. It really freaking helps.
Yeah.
Getting outside of your head is really healthy. So I would say, and a dog completes the family. So I think that I'm very lucky. Like without them, I don't know what my purpose would be beyond work. So yeah, definitely grab your loved ones, give them a squeeze, take the dog for a walk, because really at the end of the day, that is all that matters. The rest is, money helps. Look, it was nice to be able to take the kids on a nice vacation to distract them from it. It's nice to be able to order takeout when I wasn't in the mood to cook. But really, the only thing that matters in the end were the people that you love and being surrounded by love. And I know that sounds so squishy, but I have found that helpful in my day-to-day life to just keep that in perspective. Having seen the end is a privilege in many ways. It's a curse in lots of ways. In other ways, it's a blessing. It allows you to see what the point of all of this is. I mean, it's going to happen to all of us. We're all heading there at different speeds. To have seen how it ends has been really important in choosing how to live, like for the whatever years we've all got left. So if I can help anyone out there, my wife died, so yours doesn't have to. Sorry, that's a terrible joke, but gallows humor, particularly when you're British, does sometimes help.
I think that the thing about love, though, it is the most powerful force in the universe, whether we like to think it or not. I mean, I remember seeing a study, and it was a lot of captains of industry and people who ran big different industries in different sectors. And they said, what is the secrets of sustainable success in business? And they all said, or variations of, stay in love.
Yeah, agreed. I think we could all benefit, and the content is out there. We could all benefit from listening to people that are in their 80s and 90s that do those things where they talk about what they appreciated the most, but what they regretted the most. There's a lot of wisdom there that we could all adopt and save ourselves the trouble of having to learn the lessons that a million people before us have already learned and are willing to share their feelings on. So hopefully I'm helping someone out there.
You 100%. So, I mean, 1,000,000%. So with love, what is it that you love about what you do? So we know you love the people who you do it
Yes.
for. What do you love about what you do? How have you stayed in love?
Do we have time for a little story?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was born and raised in Croydon, which is in South London. And some people will know where it is, but it's not a particularly attractive part of the world. I think like the stretch between Croydon and central London got bombed quite heavily. So by the time I came around, there had been a lot of very cheaply made government housing to like get people back, and then combine that with the omnipresent low grey clouds. It was kind of there's a reason I'm in America, right? Like I was like, fuck this. Like low grey clouds, these shitty council houses that I have to look at every day. It was not pretty. And I remember my uncle at the time worked for Deloitte, and he moved to Houston to go and be an accountant in the oil business. So before tech, kids who are listening to this, oil business was like where the money was. So my first time on an aeroplane was in the middle of August, was from Gatwick to Houston in Texas. And if you've ever been to Houston in the middle of August, when you get off the plane, you're like hit by this wall of humidity. But it was like paradise. And people still laugh at me that Houston's my favorite place in America. But it's just lasered into my brain. I got off the plane and it was blue skies and it was sunny. And at the time, the architecture was those giant skyscrapers with mirrored glass. Do you remember those? Did you ever watch the TV show Dallas when the opening sequence was like, and I was like, this is what paradise looks like. So, I mean, that motivated me to come to America. I promise you this story is going somewhere.
No, okay.
Anyway, about a decade ago, my kids were studying the Constitution. And growing up in England, we didn't learn about the history of America. Like England had won so many world-changing battles. We focused on those. We didn't hear about the ones that we lost. So I'm like, what the hell's the Constitution? What's the Declaration of Independence? And it's like, oh, the documents that created America. So we went to Philadelphia because the kids needed to go for a trip to Independence Hall, right? And I don't know if you've been to Independence Hall. No. It is a very small, white, wood and brick building. If you've watched National Treasure, great movie with Nicolas Cage, and quite a lot of it's set in Independence Hall. So they've got this tiny little brick building, and it is surrounded, it's right in downtown Philadelphia. So it's surrounded by all of these skyscrapers, which to me are the physical manifestation of success, happiness, wealth creation, everything that America represented when I stepped off that plane as a 9-year-old. And I was like, holy shit, out of that tiny little white building, when the only immediate distribution was probably carrier pigeon or town crier, 2 documents were created that created the most powerful economic force in the known universe. And it was that moment where I was like, that's what I love about advertising, is the ability to wake up and create an idea out of nothing that can create tremendous value. And not just for clients, for people who watch it, for consumers, for my employees. When I talk about value creation, it's really for everyone. And I was like, and this was like peak media disruption, right? Where everything was so fucking complicated. There's creators everywhere, there's influencers. All of the tools to create have now been democratized. So our whole industry is going through this fucking crisis of like, what's our value anymore if everyone can create and everyone is creating? And I was like, if you have a good enough idea, it doesn't matter what your media plan is.
Yeah.
And this is living proof of it. So that genuinely is why I get out of bed every day, is because I love the discipline of creating quality, original ideas that create value. And I just, for some reason, that's what I want to do with my life. So and that is, I think probably when I was younger, I was more focused on the execution. As I've got older, I'm just like the discipline of the idea and the value of the idea. And it's so easy to prove the value of an idea now, right? It's like, if it's good, it spreads. If it's not, it gets fucking ignored. So I actually really enjoy the immediacy of the internet's reaction to any of our thinking. It's a great, so sorry, I'm just rambling now, but that's what I love about advertising.
I think it's brilliant. And would you say that the company you've built and the business you've built, is that a creative project as well?
100%. Yeah, I mean, it's all in pursuit of doing that. And this is not a sales pitch for Orchard, but we've re-engineered how all the departments work to be able to get us to that level of thinking faster and cheaper for our clients. So yes, this is every aspect of Orchard is about the pursuit of those kind of ideas. I have yet to come up with an idea that generates the kind of value that the North American economy represents, but it's good to have an impossible goal to always aim for. But that's what, and I talk about this so much to everyone that David, who's our creative here, he brought me a little glass sculpture of Independence Hall, which sits proudly on my desk. So
brilliant. Stay in love.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. So I want to hear about Orchard actually and what you're doing there. So what is it that makes it different? What is it that you're doing to make it different? Because we are, as you say, we're in a period of, some would say
Sure.
crisis, some would say massive uncertainty, unrest, all of these kind of things. A lot of people are worried. A lot of people are afraid of their jobs. They're afraid of the future. That kind of path that they had laid out for themselves has suddenly
Mhm.
been, or theoretically been dug up in front of them. And what would you, what are you doing differently?
Look, in the last 25 years, the creative industries on the whole, not just advertising, music, journalism, film, have gone through 10 seismic changes, all of which have put downward pressure on the value of creativity.
Mm.
So go back to the birth of the internet, right? In our business, that created media fragmentation, which required so much more content. But that didn't change the economics of our clients' business, right? So they didn't suddenly have 5 times the budget. So we were doing 5 times the work on the same. So immediately we were devalued. Financial crisis, everything became like financially more stringent. Data, everything now needs to return ROI immediately. So you a whole tranche of brand work just out the fucking window, right? And it's all just like measurable performance work. The birth of creators, the birth of cameras in your pocket. So everyone now has the capacity to do it. You can now, anyone can create, and there's a million places to publish, right? So if I were going to try and, again, simplify this, and this may be an oversimplification, but true to my previous point of like when the world gets more complicated, there's usually a very simple answer to it. Technology has created a potential supply of creativity to a far greater degree than it has increased the demand for it, right?
Mm.
So whenever supply materially outstrips demand, things become less valuable, right? If the streets were paved with gold, gold would no longer be valuable. So everything is content, everyone can create. So that has put a tremendous amount of pressure on anyone that's in a creative business. But again, to try and keep things really simple, if there's too much supply of one thing, there is opportunity in creating demand for the thing that is not in supply at the moment. So if there is, people say content is king. Content isn't king. Content's fucking ubiquitous. What is king now is quality. It's
Mm.
originality.
Yeah.
With AI, it's authenticity,
Yeah.
right? And actually, my natural persuasion as an ad person is to be like, originality is really important. But I look at the movies that are blowing up right now, like, we all know what's going to happen in the new Spider-Man movie broadly, right?
Mm.
So I think people are going, not because it's particularly original, but because they know it's going to be a quality piece of work. Same with the Odyssey, right? That poem was written 3,000 years ago. Spoiler, we know how it ends. And yet people are going to it in droves because I think that they know that Nolan does a certain level of quality that they're not getting somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I think, and look, that doesn't have to be like, but look at the other end of the movie spectrum right now. Obsession and is Backrooms, right? Is that other one that was like they're made super cheaply, but are killing it at the box office. And I think that still proves the case for originality. So I think so. What I've always tried to do, and what Orchard specifically tries to do, is always try and come up with something of higher quality. Now that's easy to say because I know that everyone's trying to do. Well, actually, not everyone's in pursuit of
I
quality.
was going to
A
say,
lot
I
of
don't
people are.
think they are.
Yeah, a lot of people are in pursuit of easy wins.
Yeah.
Breaking and entering, I don't know whether breaking and entering have made it to the UK or to Mallorca, but they're like a big advertising trade PR machine now. They're these young kids who have broken through because they're super energetic about the business. And I think it reminds us all of why we loved advertising. And they bring this infectious energy. And they do a brilliant piece about Orchard is that we don't ever need celebrities. We don't need tricks. We just do the fundamentals really well. Strategy is really tight. Insights are really clear. The work executes off of that. We execute the shit out of it. They actually call us, I don't know if you know who Tim Duncan is, but he's called Mr. Fundamentals. So what, I mean, at a mechanical a mechanical level at Orchard, what we've done, instead of creative teams being art director and copywriter, they are strategist and creative.
Yeah, interesting.
So
Yeah.
from the jump, those two work together. So there
Yeah.
is no dropping the stake in the dirt between those two disciplines, which is a horrible time suck for clients. And it means that the work is better and more effective, and we get to it faster. And look,
Yeah.
I can't claim to be the architect of this, right? This was born out. I told you that Laura was my client at Google. And when she was working at Google, she had about 16 agencies globally. And what she found to, with every single one of them, and I think BBH included, was they would do a ton of work with the strategy department, get to a great brief that everyone was happy about, and then it would go to the creative department. And ultimately, what came out of the creative department really would be the whim of the whoever the creative lead was. And in those days, it's usually a middle-aged white dude, right? And she would get these agencies come in and just go, we just think this, our gut tells us this is really good. And she was like, you know, my boss is Sundar Pichai, right?
Yeah.
Like, who's now the CEO of Google. Do you want me to go into Sundar Pichai and say that a middle-aged white dude from BBH, in his gut, he thinks this is right? She's like, fuck you. Prove it's right. So this really is her vision. So it's like strategy and creative in lockstep from the jump, and we take research incredibly seriously. And what's fascinating about getting older in advertising is you realize so much of the dogma of what you were taught to believe when you were younger is just fucking bullshit. And it is,
Yeah.
and I say this in creds meetings to clients, I say, we are proudly the only creative agency in America that will confess that our work gets better because of our clients and because of research. Every piece of work that we do that the industry loves, so if you look at all of our Etsy work from the jump, went through incredibly rigorous research, which gave us a lot of feedback, which if you were younger and brasher, would be like, fuck, consumers don't know anything. We took it all on. It made the work better.
Yeah.
So to achieve a place of actual maturity, emotional maturity, and true partnership with clients and consumers is actually invigorating. You're not at war every day, which was so fatiguing. And it just makes everything better. Sorry, I've talked too much about Orchard, but all I would say to anyone out there in the creative industry that's struggling is like, the macro issue is that there's too much supply. There's too much crap out there. So focus on quality, originality, and now in the age of AI, authenticity is more important. And I don't mean authenticity in that flabby millennials demand authenticity way. I mean, people want to know that it's actually real. Like me referencing Elon Musk earlier. It's like, I don't know if he actually said that. I hope he did, because I want to believe it, but I can't validate it. So I think authenticity and literally, is this true and honest? And where did it come from? Did a machine make it or a human is going to become more important? So that would be my advice, is just, if something's into excess supply, go and find the thing that is in much more limited supply that has a much higher demand. And that, it's complicated to do, but it's actually a very simple concept.
It's great. It's first principles, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I understand that life gets busier and the tools exist that make it more complicated, but I really think the fundamentals of human nature remain intact. Is my belief, anyway.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. I think we have a habit, or whatever we want to call it, of overcomplicating things, and actually things can be a lot less complicated than we perceive them to be.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, and I'd say the more things get complicated, to keep yourself sane, try and find like the simplest root cause. And you'll usually, and what I love, do you listen to Scott Galloway?
Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes,
what I love about him is his ability to synthesize things in a way that are just simple. And it's like, when you can clearly understand the problem, you're much better equipped to go and tackle it.
100%.
It's when the problems are amorphous that I find that causes stress.
Yes. Wasn't it Einstein who said, if I had 60 minutes to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes defining it and 5 minutes fixing it? So true,
Exactly.
isn't it? It's kind of, I
Yeah,
think
it
a
is.
lot. I mean, I remember being many years ago, being at college and stuff, and we were told, and one of the first principles we learned was don't rush to the fun stuff.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah,
It was never left us. So, I mean, you've
yeah,
done tons of amazing things, and you've been through a lot of difficult times and
yes.
very good times and stuff. Have you ever come close to burning out or at all in your career?
I mean, that's a good question. I don't think so because again, the circumstances of my personal life meant that I didn't have that luxury. And look, again, in the spirit of, I don't think I'm that special or I'm that unique. I've, for the first part of my career, I was at the best agency in the world, learning from the best people, right? So in many ways, that was like a rarefied air. And then instead of, as the industry is facing tremendous downward pressure in terms of value, instead of joining a legacy agency where really the job is managing decline,
Yeah.
I chose to build new ones.
Mm.
And when you're building from zero, every year is double digit growth, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
in many ways, the choice I made has sort of incubated me from probably the if I were in a holding company somewhere, I think life would look very different, and
Mm.
I probably would have considered a career change. Probably would have gone client side. Like a bunch of my friends, brilliant minds, decided to all go to Google or Facebook or. So I understand why that seemed like a safer harbor for a while, right? So had I had I chosen, so I probably had I made different choices, I probably would have had a more existential moment of career crisis. But combination of always being in build and growth mode and really not having the luxury of choice uh, meant that I just
Mm.
plowed one furrow.
Mm.
Um,
I think there's something else as well I've noticed just chatting to you is that the thing is that it's not too much work that burns us out, it's too little work that is meaningful.
yes,
And it sounds like what
100%.
you've had and found all of the
100%.
time is the meaning, the value.
Yeah, yeah. And it's, look, anyone in a creative industry, they want to create, right?
Mm.
And they want to build. Like
Mm.
creators are builders. So I think being in an environment where it's actually, you're not building, you're managing to climb will be very dispiriting. So yes, I agree. It's like, do the thing you love and you can keep doing it forever.
Yeah.
Um, I actually worry about what would happen to me if I had too much free time. Like, I think I'm one of those people that's much better occupied, right? So I actually do really enjoy coming to work.
I think this is what you can tell. So, is there anything? Advice would you give to anyone? Either with two ends of the scale, someone
Yeah.
who's coming into the industry and
Yes.
someone who's thinking about exiting the industry. What advice would you give? Would it be the same piece of advice or wildly different?
I mean, look, my advice to someone coming into the industry, any industry, would be if you can, l- learn from the best.
Mm.
Like that, I literally, that I was John Hegarty's sole account man on one of his favorite accounts forced me to understand every aspect of creativity, where the lines were, what I could negotiate with clients and what I couldn't. He wouldn't come to meetings. Uh, so if you can, when you're young, learn from you're interested in staying in an industry for a while, learn from the best.
Yeah.
If you can. Um, Try and get yourself into that position. And then someone who's thinking about exiting the industry.
Yeah, so maybe they've become disillusioned with it, or they feel they've outgrown it, or it's outgrown their need to be in it. What would you say to
Yeah.
them?
I don't, it's outgrown. I would say before you jump, before you jump, have you have you have you really identified what the problem is? Or is it just like a general malaise? It's if you can identify what the specific issue is and you've still got a spark in you, you could probably, humans are pretty fucking resilient. We're good problem solvers, right? We've got opposable thumbs. We created most of the things that are around us in physical form. Like we know. So I think if you understand the problem, and understanding the problem is not easy. If you can understand the problem, I'd say take a shot at fixing it before you throw in the towel. I think the other thing that's like interesting, you tell me whether this is interesting because you're a boss on this, is do you really know if you feel like you are at odds with what you're doing every day, do you really have a clear understanding of who you are and why you are who you are? And I say that in full admission that I didn't know what was really driving me throughout my career until 7 or 8 years ago. And I'm 53 now. So it wasn't until my mid-40s, and it wasn't until it like fell into my lap that I was like, oh, that's why I am who I am. And once I figured that out, it was very liberating. And I don't know that everyone has that figured out, right? And it's funny, like now I've interviewed probably tens of thousands of people in my career now. And instead of spending an hour like, talk me through your resume, ask them 2 questions. Who are you and why are you? And if they can give whatever their answer is to that, gives you a pretty clear idea of whether they're going to be a good fit, whether this is the thing that they want to do. And it's good discipline for everyone to do. It's just like, who the fuck am I and why? And am I doing the thing that I really want to be doing? And so I caveat my answer to someone thinking about leaving, like identify the problem if you can, but also just like look inwards. Is there, and if the answer is to do something else, then fucking go and do it. Like I think whatever you're doing, if you're doing it better than other people, you're going to succeed. So if that is a career change, but you're going to do better at it and you're going to be happier, then go for it.
I think who are you and why are you is critical, whether you stay or whether you go or want to do the next thing. Because if you don't know who you are and why do you do what you do and why are you that person, then it's going to be difficult to do what you've done. But I think in
your line of work, how many people do you meet who really understand those 2 questions, the answer to those 2 questions?
At the very beginning, very few.
Right.
I think that is what causes so much pain in our industry or in industries in general, is the fact that we overly identify with what we do, not who we are. So the question is, take away the awards, take away the title, take away the bank account, take away the cars, the house, take away your name, who's left?
Yeah. 2 observations on that are, there's something about culture right now, and it's not just its voracious supply of like representation of self, right? And I'm thinking about like Instagram. Before my wife died, there was this like group of like adjacent friends that when we were together, I found that really what it was about was just displays of status. And that's really what the friendship was about, or what the connection was about. And after my wife died, I stripped all of that shit out. I've basically got 3 friends, and they're all I need. And I just found without all of that shit, it was so liberating. Because as you say, the cars, the fucking houses, that take it from me, having seen the end, none of that shit matters. Of course it's nice, but do not get trapped by your stuff. Like that's a really damaging place to be as a human being, is like trapped by your stuff and caught up in the status race. There is no end to that. That's
Yeah.
like I've never been an addict, but I understand that addictions are just endless, right? And it's
Yeah.
strip that shit out of your life. That is not rewarding.
Yeah, 100%. Well, there's a lot of things. Problem with success is that people think that success will answer the ultimate question about who am I and why do I exist, and it doesn't.
Does
It kind
not.
of it amplifies the problems.
100%. And again, I realize I'm banging a drum here, but what you want as much good to come from someone dying as you can possibly get out of it, right? Because it's harrowing and it's awful and life got cut short and it's unfair. But one of the good things that can come from it, hopefully, is people learn a lesson. And again, I go back to she literally died in my arms,
Mm.
and none of the other shit mattered. All that mattered was that I was there,
Love.
and that there was love, and it's easy to say because I know money and material things are important just to exist in the world these days. But take it from me, oh, it it really, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't fucking matter.
So if we can get down to the answer to who am I, and your answer is
Yes,
love.
me, actually, my answer is freedom.
Nice.
It's having grown up in a country where hereditary privilege is not just indulged but actually honored. It's very hard to come from Croydon,
Mm.
and it is. I mean, like I said, cliches are cliches because they're true. I literally came to the new world in search of a better life, and the epiphany I had a few years ago when financially, operationally, creatively, I was free. I was like, oh shit, that's actually what I was in pursuit of,
Mm.
was freedom. Freedom
Yeah.
from judgment, freedom from for a long time in England felt less than
Yeah.
and felt like I could never achieve my full potential in that country, even though I love that country, even though a lot of those people with hereditary wealth are wonderful human beings. I knew a lot of them at Durham University. They're actually some of the kindest, loveliest people. If you were born into generational wealth and the country is around you is cosets you and values you because of that, you've got no reason to be mad. So I actually found them to be the most delightful people. But it's like, I will never, coming from where I come from with the accent I've got, I will never be able to achieve everything that I'm capable of. And that, for me, is a no-go. So I'm going to the freest market in the known universe, which sounds obvious now, right? Well, you emigrated to America. It's like, I should have known that really freedom was what it was about. Like I say, I'm not special. The circumstances of my life have forced me to reflect probably in a way that others wouldn't, which is why I say it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's a hard question. It's a simple question to ask: who are you and why are you? It's really fucking hard to know if you've got an accurate handle on it.
Yeah. I am a free man.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it, Barney. Is there anything? I mean, I could talk for hours, but is there anything that but I don't want to keep you for
No, no,
hours.
no. This actually like to be. I like I said, I don't have a therapist. I've got my dog, so talking to you is actually like super. It's really enjoyable and probably very healthy.
Yeah, well, also your dogs give you a lot of oxytocin as well, which is
Yeah.
also very,
Yes.
very good and
Exactly.
healthy. So I love dogs as well. Is there anything I've not asked you that you wish I had or were hoping I had had or would be useful?
No, no. I sincerely hope that there are people who watch this find it helpful. So
Mm,
I really
they
appreciate
will.
I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity, and I hope I've been of service to your audience.
Well, thank you for taking the opportunity up because it's kind of like it's been an absolute joy and a pleasure. And let's stay in touch.
Thank you.
And I love freedom. I mean,
Yeah,
what is
right.
it? What else, man?
It's
So
compelling.
yeah, freedom and stay in love.
Yes, that's a good close.
That is indeed. Barney, thank you so much. I massively appreciate it. Chat
Same.
soon and have an amazing rest of the day.
Thank you.
Cheers, man. Bye.
Bye.
Like, subscribe, and comment to show your support.